Good morning, afternoon, or evening to anyone out there. So today I'm actually not going to talk about math. What I'm going to be talking about today is coding. Now, coding is slang for computer programming, and if you haven't noticed out there, technology is becoming a part of everyday life ever so seamlessly. There's this little thing out there called the internet. I know you guys have heard of it. I know you're spending a lot of time on there. How does it work? Computer programming. If you want to make your own website, if you want to make your own app, computer programming is going to get that done for you. So I'm actually working on building my own website right now, a little side project for the future. After I finish my website, I want to work on Android apps. I like Android over Apple phones. That's a discussion for another time. But to code for an Android is different than coding for an Apple. But basically the same principle in general. So I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my journey going through computer programming. Because you know that I teach math, that's my profession, but math gives you a lot of background knowledge in other areas, and it's a great jumping off point for computer programming. So right here on my desktop page, I have this little shortcut folder called AOP, which is the acronym for my website. And what you'll see is that really a website is just a bunch of files linked together. Now, it's not just HTML. That's one thing that not everyone realizes. Some of the most robust and interactive websites out there are a synthesis of more than one type of programming language. You got your basic HTML files right here. That gives you your content, where you want pictures on the page, your title. Are you splitting your page up into different blocks? Where are those blocks? There's also something called CSS. Where is it? Yeah, these two CSS files. They stand for Cascading Style Sheets. Now, Cascading Style Sheets, or CSS, tells you what color do you want it, how big should it be. Basically, if you put different blocks inside different blocks, how do they behave? So CSS is really what gives your website a little bit of flavor. There's also something called JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is what I'm currently working on right now. I don't understand as much about it as I should, and it gives you different behaviors for websites. So if you click on a button, what makes it go pop? What brings you to the next page? That's your JavaScript in action. If you hover over something, why does it change color? Does a drop-down menu appear? Also, I'm working on drop-down menus right now. And as you can see, it says like slider down here. That's when you have your images sliding across the screen. How does that happen? That's a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript combined. There's also languages out there called PHP and jQuery, which is a subset of JavaScript. So there's a whole lot out there to learn. So how do you get started coding? Well, the first thing you need is you need to get a text editor. Now, one text editor I like is called Sublime Text. You will need to pay for it, but keep in mind there's lots of free options out there. A free option would be something called Notepad++. This is what I used in the past, and you can just basically type stuff. Public, void, main, string args, whatever. I'm doing a little bit of Java syntax right there. But just keep in mind when you're coding in a specific language. So you're going to need to know either some HTML, some CSS, JavaScript. Yes, Java and JavaScript are different. Just got to learn the difference between the two. Java is more like for making freestanding apps. JavaScript is client side. I'm not going to get into the details. Too much. But I'm using Sublime Text. But basically, it's just a place to write your code. You'll notice there's different colors everywhere, so it's identifying different things like nouns, verbs, etc. in English. But in coding, we have things called variables, methods, values. So it's giving it a different color so you can read very quickly what's what. And now that we've got the text editor covered, where are you going to type your code? How are you going to learn what to code? So basically, there's never been a better time out there to start coding because there's lots of free resources out there. One place I'm going to learn is called Code Academy. Why is it nice? Because it's free. There's lots of other non-free options out there. I'll probably be trying some in the future. But basically, if you want to learn, you create your login, etc. And you can learn all the things that I was talking about. These are different languages. They have different tasks. So right now I'm in the JavaScript mode. I've completed some lessons, and right now I'm working on arrays and objects. So you'd go in there. Let's see. They give you a little synopsis of what they want you to do. You can type some code in here, and if you click save and submit, oops, try again, I haven't quite finished this. And that's one of the most important things to know about coding. It ain't going to work the first time. So this is what we call debugging. You're going to have to go in there and get your hands dirty. Did you miss a comma? Did you miss a semicolon somewhere? Are you even using the right function? These are all things that you'll have to answer for yourself. But if you're not sure, if you've been thinking about it for half an hour and you can't just quite solve it, what do you do? Well, there's lots of places out there that answer questions. Yahoo Answers, it's a general place to go, but not quite the best. A good place to go for computer science questions is called stackoverflow.com. Make sure you use the right keywords, because things like export or upload have very different meanings when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of computer programming. So this is a question I asked once, so it popped up. The question is, how do I create a relative CSS file? Because if you go to, let's see, if you go to here, you'll notice I have a folder with a bunch of CSS in it. So basically, I have detached CSS from my HTML. Yes, that is a standard form of practice. And so how do you teach your HTML to go into that folder, take the necessary CSS and do something with it? Well, it's called a relative file path. So at one point I had that question and I searched for it. Some other places to go. So I've got a programming folder. Let's say a place that is a little bit more current would be something called SitePoint. And this is more things that are happening right now in HTML. So if you are looking for, let's see, my current CSS and Sass style guide. I have no idea what Sass is, but apparently people are using it and have questions about it. So this would be a cool place to some basics and best practices with meta tags. They give you a little intro. As you can see, there's some code right here. But basically, there are so many people out there that want to help you code, and it's just about finding the right option for you. What are some other places that I've gone? Where is that place? Code School. Yeah, I'll probably be checking these guys out pretty soon. I've heard a lot of good things from friends. You know, their lessons are pretty good. You got to pay like $30 a month, but in the grand scheme of things, you're learning a new skill, and $30 a month isn't that bad to pick up a new skill. So what have I not talked about? I've gone over the text editor. There's different languages out there. Coding is a pain because it's not going to work the first time, so you got to keep going at it. But just know that there are lots of resources out there, and if you want to know more about coding, just hit me up and I'd be happy to share more with you. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope to talk to you again soon.